Hello, everybody. So we're here to speak about the evolution of advertising. So we could say the future of advertising. So how many of you have anti-ad blockers? Wow, not so big. It's already 20% in Europe. And preparing the panel, I realized that it was maybe not the case so much in Asia. So advertising is still a big area of spend. I mean, especially in Asia, where the level of advertising have reached more than 50 million of dollars, I mean, in 2015. So it's big. And we have today a fantastic panel to speak of that, composed of both a very good mix of publisher, advertiser, and platform providers. And as for me, being now on the other side, I mean on the venture side, I'll be here to ask some challenging questions to the audience. So first of all, the floor is for you, Janice. So maybe some few words about what you're doing. I mean, we do a very short introduction.
Okay. Well, in terms of advertising, we've been extremely focused in the past on how do we drive more conversions, and then a lot of it has been the last part of the consumer journey. But now it's with the advent of mobile, etc., we're really looking at the entire journey and looking at how do we track cross-device as well as using content to drive more engagement at the top of the funnel.
So on top of Janice, we have also Rahul, sorry for the pronunciation, who is representing the advertiser side. So a few words of what you're doing for Kimberly.
Yeah, I mean, from our point of view, our engagement with consumers start long before they start actually using our product. Because if you wait for them to when they start using the product, it's too late. You know, really with moms, it's about the one-on-one personalized relationship that you can build. So, you know, we really stopped using the word advertising. For us, it's about the engagement, it's about the content, it's about building that relationship. And we're, you know, lucky to be living in an era where the technology enables that. So whether it's CRM, whether it's programmatic buying, we're able to do that in a cost-effective way, and that's what we're focusing on.
So you don't need anymore to be working with Raj, no? So Raj is representing the traditional, I would say, media industry. I'm a bit provocative, but Raj, maybe a few words of MEC and your role at MEC.
Yeah, sure. MEC is a media agency. We're part of WPP and hence Group M. We look after probably around 1 in 3 ads that are served that you see, but I think the role of a media agency's changed a lot. In the past, what we used to look at predominantly was the creation and then the maintenance of awareness for clients, but I think digital data has created a whole new economy for what agencies and ad agencies do. And I think both to what Janice and Rahul said, we're changing the way in which we're engaging with consumers, and that starts with understanding the consumer journey and how to connect with consumers.
And then we have the newcomer, Freddy, mobile advertising. And guess what? Freddy is coming from Berlin to develop something in Asia.
Definitely, Glispa is a mobile advertising company based in Berlin and been doing great business throughout developed and developing countries, emerging markets, BRICS and others, doing business in China, India and other large countries as such, and now focusing on Singapore and Southeast Asia for various reasons, but mainly, and that's very clearly, it's a booming market from the macro perspective. Things are rapidly advancing and growing, and we can see the need here for more advanced and to leverage on all kinds of mechanics and technologies to create a more appealing and unique user experience. So with our focus, for example, in native advertising, much better targeted ads based on our user database, and a lot of other things which our core technology stack is allowing, we're actually allowing and enabling and more engaged ways to get to the relevant users, keep them engaged, and then going on into retargeting and user retention. And for us, we believe that Southeast Asia is a huge opportunity, as in many cases, in many countries, many audiences throughout all kinds of geos and verticals are using mobile as their predominant #1 communication device for infotainment, information, news, communication, etc. So we understand that Southeast Asia right now is the right time for doing a lot of great stuff here.
So Freddy has been pushing his product. So I think that it's a panel about advertising, so we need to advertise. But however, I mean, we had already the word mobile advertising, engagement, branding, and so I've got some question for you, Raj. How do you see this market? I mean, 50 billion. Is there some characteristic of the Asian market compared to the rest of the world? I mean, where is it growing?
Let's take China aside, because obviously it's a very different marketplace in terms of the digital players. But what we're starting to see in Asia is actually a consolidation within vendors. So a lot of the trends we're seeing in other parts of the world is catching up in Asia. So the big things that are developing is the growth of Google and Facebook. To give you an idea, we've seen about a 10% growth in the share Google and Facebook have taken in our share of digital advertising revenue. I think part of that's driven by the move to mobile. Within the mobile ecosystem, despite the fact that there are many, many apps built, many downloaded, the ones that are most used are the ones owned by Google and Facebook in this part of the world, which is sending a lot of mobile dollars that way. The other thing that we're seeing and starting to see where Asia is catching up with the rest of the world's in programmatic. So a lot of those other players where money's coming out of direct relationships are now going back through programmatic marketplaces back into those advertisers. So the big trends in Asia, and again, ex-China, where BAT is dominant, Baidu, Alibaba, Tencent are dominant, that we're seeing is Google and Facebook are growing more, bigger, getting more dominant in the market, which to some extent I would be worried about if I was an advertiser. And the second area is in terms of the growth of programmatic to take care of the rest of the market.
Okay, so data, programmatic, but also a lot is around the e-commerce in Asia. And I see that as one of the main differences compared to Europe or US, is that e-commerce seems to be very much developed. I mean, we are in the world of Alibaba. So how do you see that? I mean, Rahul, as part of your activity, I mean, do you sell directly to your customers?
So e-commerce is very important for us. It's the nature of the categories we are in. It's an extremely important selling channel. When a mom's just given birth, she's not really looking forward to lugging these massive bags of paper from a store. She'd much rather have them delivered at home. And it's a big percentage of our total net sales. And actually, Asia is the biggest region when it comes to e-commerce for Kimberly-Clark. So, it kind of ties in very well because a lot of our engagement with consumers is really about driving traffic, to e-commerce platforms and to work with online retailers. And, some of the online retailer innovations happening in Asia, I think, is ahead of anywhere else in the world, even the US. Some of the work that's happening in China with Alibaba, and Tencent, using WeChat, for example, as a social messaging platform, but really using it for commerce. I haven't seen that anywhere else in the West. So actually, we have to move faster to keep up with our, our retailers here. And then that becomes something that our other regions kind of take as learning for them.
And Janice, do you have the same approach? I mean, how an hospitality brand is able to be on the digital world? I mean, in Asia, is there some specificity compared to the rest of Starwood, I would say, marketing approach?
Well, I won't comment on the Marriott part, but in terms of just driving, conversions, bookings, etc., the benefit of the hotel industry or travel industry has always been that we've been able to track it down to the conversion, right? We have that benefit over, FMCG brands. And what's exciting right now is that the Asian market is leading the e-commerce evolution in the world, but the challenge being part is Asia is not one market. It's a very diverse number of hundreds of different of countries, many different languages, payment methods, etc. And a lot of that the changes that are driven through mobile as well. And for us, and I guess for a lot of brand marketers, the biggest challenge is cross-device tracking, right? We know that our consumers are mobile, that they're browsing, they're dreaming about their next destination or travel location or product they want to buy. But when it comes to big ticket items, we also know that they're going to go home and then make the end purchase on desktop or another device. So how do we solve for that? And I think that still is a big challenge.
So, Raj, social media here, I mean, I was just last week in the US and I've been struck by Snapchat and the evolution of Snapchat. Is there something, I mean, thrilling in Asia? What is the average spend in social media, I mean, you see from your customers?
From a paid point of view, obviously, Facebook dominates this area. It absolutely does. And we're starting to see anywhere from budgets in the paid sphere going up to 25% of budgets to support these types of campaigns. I think the more interesting development is what's going on in the content space in Asia. And I think within the way in which agencies are popping up and also the way in which advertisers are starting to look at native content, the social area around owned and earned, I think, is going to be far more important in this part of the world than where the paid area of social is going. I think although ad blockers aren't prominent here at the moment, I do think viewability is a huge issue for advertisers here. I think the integrity of advertising supply chain in digital is a huge issue for clients here. I think ad fraud, non-human traffic is also a very big issue for advertisers here, which is why I think a lot of them are starting to look at areas like content and native to get around these problems.
Yeah, clearly. And so when you think about Snapchat, mobile advertising and virtual reality is not very far. So Freddy, is it something you're considering? I mean, or do you're having some specific attention in Asia?
As into ad blocking?
Virtual reality?
Into?
VR.
VR. When we look at advertising as a whole, always the question is, where are the eyeballs? Where are the users? What are they doing? Where are they spending most of their dwell time, their entertainment time, etc.? I think in Asia it's quite evident, quite clear to say that users, people, clients, consumers, they are spending more time on mobile than any other channel. Is advertising budget coherent with that approach? Unfortunately not yet, talking from the mobile advertising perspective, of course, but we're getting there. Budgets are moving from traditional media to digital channels to mobile channels, and it's evident. VR as such is yet another channel which is complementing others. It's not going to shift everything away right now. It's very experimental, very innovative, very nascent. I think the previous panel was speaking about these big goggles that disconnect you from the world and you are immersed into a new virtual reality system, even if it's augmented reality, AR, then there are ways to use some glasses to connect between the physical world and the digital world. We believe that's the way forward because more entertainment vertical, information vertical, other verticals will go, even brands will proceed into VR and AR, and of course the advertising industry will follow. So if we are serving ads to mobile apps via an SDK, and then going forward, we will have dedicated SDKs and dedicated ad units suitable for that arena of VR and AR. And definitely, there are many companies, such as Glispa and others, who would be geared towards that.
Maybe a question for you, Janice. Starwood is a wonderful brand. It has a lot of legacy. But you see a lot of new players coming in the industry of travel. Airbnb, for example, which is touching maybe the young, the millennials. So how do you react against that?
Well, I think Airbnb and other type of vacation home sharing models complement the industry that we're in. In fact, I think different hotels also serve different types of purposes, right? And I think most hotel brands are grappling or figuring out how do we complement and work with the different platforms. And you know, it's no different from when the online travel agents started also distributing many different types of products. I mean, if you've heard, like, one of the, Accor recently acquired One Fine Stay, which is a luxury home sharing business. So I can see that there will be more convergence, more acquisitions happening, and I think it'll be very interesting once we merge with Marriott.
Great. Big challenge.
Yes.
And Rahul, do you see new players coming in your field? I mean, Kimberly-Clark is a bunch of brands. By the way, I mean, which brands, I mean, new brands are you creating? I mean, do you have a portfolio of brands, new brands that you want? So do you engage into new products?
Yeah, I think, you know, part of it is defining which industry you're in. You know, so if you say as Kimberly-Clark, I'm a paper company and therefore it's about making the best diapers or the best feminine care pads, yes, that's one approach. But you could also say that I'm in the business of helping parents, you know, be the best parents that they can be. And, you know, to navigate through what is a pretty stressful, you know, time in your life. And if you define it that way, then it kind of becomes a much bigger role for the brand. And it goes beyond the product, which of course has a crucial role to play, but it also goes into content, it goes into information sharing, you know, it goes into engagement. And, you know, we're always, you know, looking for different products in that, you know, in that sphere. One of the things that we are actively kind of looking at is wearables, you know, sensor wearables on diapers, which can help talk about the health of the baby and feed that information directly onto the smartphone of a mom. You know, which would not have been something that people would have thought of if they said that, well, the role of a diaper is just to protect the messes.
Very interesting. You're moving, I mean, you're in the digital world. As a brand, you need to have a new storytelling and being more an holistic brand than only focusing on some tactical advertising. Raj, any view on the video side? I mean, we speak a lot about the e-commerce, the social media, but how is video advertising in Asia? Is there differences between China, where we have two very big players, I mean, Youku to do on the video, and the rest of Asia?
So the biggest growth, I think, the biggest driver of digital in the region has been video. I mean, ultimately, where we're seeing the dollars go to is video. So what's driving a lot of the growth for Google has been YouTube and advertising in YouTube. What's driving a lot of the Facebook growth has been video plays within streams. So video is going to be critical out here, and I think that's raising a lot of issues for advertisers right now. I think primarily for advertising, the way this is evolving is how valuable is each video view that's being seen, and is a view that's auto-played with no volume in stream on a mobile on your Facebook feed the same as a true view on YouTube. And if you're looking at those two things, at the moment, no research is actually telling you the difference between the two, but I think empirically, advertisers and consumers are actually seeing a difference there. I think one of the big issues that I'm seeing for advertisers at the moment and for agencies is actually, the walled gardens of data that are out there, so the ability for me to actually get accountable data. And I think digital in its whole, mobile in its whole, promised us a lot of accountability. What it gave us was a lot of accountability. So we're very good at counting numbers and telling clients, here are the views, here is average time spent, but we're not very good at the accountable side of it to actually match to their end results in video. And I think the measurement of video is going to have to take a new evolution to what it is at the moment. And I think as much as a lot of people in the digital world malign television and traditional television in the way it's measured, which has a hell of a lot of flaws, the fact that I know that there are certain audience congregating around a certain piece of content with more definity than I do in digital is an issue for the digital marketplace right now. And I think what is going to occur hopefully this year and next year is we are going to get more information, more openness from the publishers to actually help advertisers such as Janice and Rahul actually target better.
Makes sense. Freddy, you've been first moving to China, Then you're coming to Singapore. Why?
China, for Glispa, as evolving from a performance marketing company on mobile, on in-app, posed a great opportunity, both for inland domestic China opportunities with some of the biggest publishers around, app owners, and then of course international with Chinese publishers who wish to acquire users and retain users all over the world. And I believe that as a growth strategy, focusing on break on Russia, Brazil, India, China was worthwhile and proved itself both on the bottom line and performance and growth. Right now, moving forward, I believe now for Glispa is the right time to move into Southeast Asia and basing a new hub in Singapore. The opportunities here are amazing. Glispa now has the tech and the infrastructure to cater for a lot of requirements and demands, both from the supply side, from the app developers, for monetization, both from the demand side. And now we believe we're all ready for that prime time in Southeast Asia. And there are specific areas in which we need to address. Ad units, as my friend here mentioned, that should be addressed rather sooner than later. Matrix and analytics abilities, which we need to incorporate into our stack so that we're not just counting on campaign metrics, but also on post-campaign metrics, on engagement level, lifetime value, and this is what our user database is able to do, allowing our advertiser clients to have more advanced business model rather than just CPC or CPI, but also CPE, cost per engagement, cost per subscription, or things like that. So based on data and based on the fact that it's not just a hit-and-run campaign focus, but going forward from engagement, hit, and then ongoing retention, this is something that we believe that right now for us, Glispa, it's the right time to start moving on in this region.
Janice and Rahul, maybe a question also for you. How do you measure that you've been efficient in your day-to-day job as spending properly your advertising budget?
You beat the agency. Yeah. Well, no, you need to make sure that you're using data, right, effectively. And we do beat the agency a lot. They don't like us about that. But so yeah, we have, like I said at the beginning, we have the ability to track from down to the conversion level, which allows us to have a lot of visibility in what works. But I think that the big challenge for most advertisers who are very focused on direct response type of campaigns is actually attributing value to the different touch points, right? And I think CPG brands have had that problem for a while. But for us, it's if we're going to be publishing content, if we're going to do mobile advertising, then measuring that not only cross-device, but also attributing different types of value to the various touch points, communication methods and investments. I think that's where we're focused on. There are a lot of players out there that are trying to solve for this problem. But I think everyone's still testing that, and we certainly have seen some decent results on that. But Rahul is
you know what they say, right? I think someone said that about 50 years ago, that 50% of my marketing budget is wasted. I just wish I knew which 50%. And that's a problem that a lot of us grapple with. And I think it's even more acute for CPG companies because we don't own the end data on conversion. So we don't know whether the advertising or the marketing is actually translated in an actual sale. But there are a couple of things we're doing. I think the first thing is we're forcing ourselves to be really sharp in defining the business objective of a program. And we're trying to convert that into a single KPI or a performance metric. Because we're saying that you really need to be choiceful in deciding what is the one thing you want to optimize the program against. And then really it's working with a number of different partners to get the data and to kind of read that accurately. Like Janice said, I think a lot of people are doing some work on attribution modeling, really understanding which part of your program delivered the most value. And we're kind of partnering with them to understand, how to use that on a more regular basis.
Yeah. Raj, media agency in the new world of digital advertising, how is it to survive?
Actually, media agencies are thriving today to some point, but to another point, our business is under a huge deal of threat. I think for me right now, if you would ask a media agency CEO 3 or 4 years ago who they were most worried about, they would have said the digital agencies, because everyone's seeing that media is becoming digital. I would probably argue it might become mobile as opposed to digital,
True.
but
Would agree.
it definitely is becoming digital. I think today my biggest worry is not digital agencies. Most digital agencies, I think, are still working in a very limited ecosystem. My biggest fear as a media agency, senior executive these days, is coming from media owners. So particularly Google and Facebook in terms of disintermediating agencies, especially in the way they've set up their walled gardens. And I can say that about BAT in China as well, for Chinese agencies. And I think the other area that's really starting to concern me as an agency owner is how people are actually coming from advising clients from the other end of the consumer journey. So we always approached it from, we're going to build your awareness, then consideration, then all the way through to purchase. What I'm starting to see now is people are actually working at that back end. So e-commerce companies, take Alibaba for example, now actually moving downstream, you might want to call it, or to the other end of the consumer journey, and actually starting to collect, using the data they have of the consumer at the purchase end to influence advertiser. And some of the investments someone like Alibaba's made into things like the South China Post, to building their own programmatic engines, is worrying me more than what the digital agencies are doing today.
So we are approaching the end of the panel. Maybe a very useful question for me. So quickly, for all of you, which company would you advise me to invest in or to acquire in the digital advertising space in Asia?
I would
Your
say
turn.
Facebook. It's always a good pick. And Google, by the way, if you have enough money. But there are quite a few others, so I'll be very careful.
Janice,
That's a trick.
any new player you're seeing? I mean, particularly interesting?
Sorry.
Oh, go ahead.
I'm not going to give you a company, but if I was investing in an area that I think is going to influence advertising more than any, I'd be investing in people who are actually building good data and good audiences for clients. I think it's the area in terms of people who can actually find technology to break down these walled gardens, and someone will do it, to actually help someone like Janice or Rahul create a single customer view, because I think more than anything, they are trying to create cross-channel audiences to better target, better measure, and to generate better insights about their audiences or potential customers. I think that company is the one worth investing in.
Yeah, by the way, now you are officially my hero. Thanks for that. And I mean it. And exactly in Glispa, this is why we built over 2 years ago our own data platform, big data platform. Because ad serving is a commodity, mediation is a commodity, programmatic is a commodity. It's all commoditized market. Some have better algorithms, some have less, but it's all a commoditized market. What makes the difference is the user data and how to activate that user data. And activating user data means that taking some raw data of clicks, installs, engagement, dwell time, whatever raw data signals can come into that data stacks from all kinds of first, second, and third parties, and then that piece of black box machine that makes all this data science magic. In the end of the day, these profiles inside this database will determine if the media buying would be more efficient, if the ROI would be better for the advertiser, if the eCPMs would be higher for the publisher, etc., and all of this is based on relevant, actionable, and privacy-protected user data, and that's what would make one company better than any others.
So, end of the panel, one word to describe the future of advertising in Asia. Just one word.
I think it's bright.
I think it's divergence.
Mobile apps.
Exciting. I think it's a very exciting time at the moment.
So I guess you're convinced because this area is going to be ahead the US in terms of advertising spending by 2018. So it's worth making your company here, and it's worth trying to develop your business in Asia. Thanks to all, and thanks for this panel.
Thank you.